Welcome back, everyone. It's time for us to take a look at the latest trends and the hottest news. For our social media minute, we're joined by Erica in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Everything's going well.
It's been decided. All is well with the world. Some changes in apparently military diet
That's
for
right.
soldiers, as we were discussing. Perhaps this is a belated change.
Yep.
Change times, change physique. Maybe we need a different meal.
So South Korea's defense ministry has announced a new program to modernize its food service for the soldiers. The program is going to be implemented this year, and it's aimed at meeting more of the soldiers' preferences so they can enjoy a wider range of options while they do their duties.
I guess it's the least we can do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're, what is it now, 2 years? Dedicating 2 years
Yeah.
of their time to serve the country.
Exactly. At least let them enjoy what they want to eat.
Yeah, and it's not a matter of budgeting at this point, is it? Right? I mean, because they could use the same budget to maybe consider
Yeah.
what the soldiers want a little bit more. When exactly will this new program begin, and how is it different from the previous meal policy?
So the new program is going to be implemented starting in April. The previous policy was based on standardized menus and ingredients that were basically unilaterally imposed by the military authorities without considering soldiers' dietary preferences. South Korean troops have so far designed a daily menu to meet the allocated amount of food ingredients that must be supplied to soldiers. So they may contain the necessary nutrition for the day, but they may not be the soldiers' favorite things to eat.
Maybe it's not fair for me to draw this comparison, but nobody likes a hospital meal. But if you think about it, it is a well-prepared
Yep.
meal. I mean, it's probably most nutritious.
Yep.
Tasty? I'm not quite sure. Now, could you give us maybe specific examples of maybe the allocated amount of food ingredients?
Yeah, so the existing food service program mandates that a soldier should consume 8.84 grams of white radish, 1.54 grams of green pumpkin, and 3.41 grams of Napa cabbage per day. I mean, the military is feeding, 500,000 soldiers on a daily basis. So they have to be really meticulous, to keep everything in budget. They weigh everything. But the new policy enables military units to independently select menus to reflect the preferences of enlisted soldiers, as long as the meal plans cover their nutritional needs and are, of course, within budget.
Okay, so again, within that budget, they can move around a little
Yep.
bit. There's a little bit of wiggle room. The soldiers are highly active. They spend a lot of energy. Their day-to-day tasks include training a lot of
Yes.
times, right? 8 grams of radish. And I don't even cook. And that just sounds like a teeny tiny amount. 3 grams of cabbage. It really doesn't sound like much.
And you also have to consider the fact that the physical build of South Korean men has changed over the years as well. They're taller now.
They're taller, they're bigger, their
Yeah.
diet has changed. And should it reflect, it's funny, we just had this conversation with Diane about, the average height of men and women in Korea, how in the last 100 years it has shot up like
That's right.
15 centimeters.
Yep.
That's insane. So maybe it should reflect those changes.
Yeah, and that is why the military is also renouncing its mandatory consumption of meat products as well. So, for instance, troops are currently required to allocate 15% of pork loin, which is a very lean cut of meat, and 22% of pork hock, foreleg. Again, pretty lean for stir-fry dishes. But under the new program, the units will be able to freely select meat products or cuts within the allocated food budget.
Sounds about right. What else is changing?
Yeah, so unflavored milk is a fixture on the menu, but it's apparently really unpopular among soldiers. So the military will instead supply flavored milk products, soybean milk, fruit juice to soldiers, basically again to cater to their preferences.
I mean, including soy and other flavorful
Yeah.
products, it might be a sensible decision
Yes.
to maybe reflect, I don't know, allergies.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. We need
Yeah.
options.
Some people might be lactose intolerant.
That's
Yep.
a big one, right? And maybe we're having these conversations a little too belatedly, but better late than never.
That's right. The South Korean troops will also be able to use a wider range of brands when it comes to processed food products, including tofu, sugar, salt, and cooking oil. Military units, this surprised me, currently do not have the option to choose which food brand they want to use. It's a fixed brand.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Defense Ministry says it's going to continue to pursue policies to enhance meals in militaries, such as introducing up-to-date kitchen appliances, improving military dining facilities as well, and working conditions for food handlers based on the recognition that improving the quality of soldiers' meals is the foundation for fostering a combat-ready military.
Did you just make up their poster for them? Because that looks good. Put it on a wall. All right, let's move on to our second story for the day. Interfloor noise. If you can imagine in this crowded city, it becomes such a sticking point. Dangerous events occur. People
Exactly.
scream at each other. Neighbors
People
don't get
have been-
along.
Some in the worst cases,
Yeah.
neighbors have been known to stab each other as well.
Yeah, you've seen those stories. And I guess from a distance, you wonder how
People get really worked up.
Right. So this is kind of a refreshing take
That's
on
right.
interfloor noise. It's not a problem for one elderly couple that has said, be a child, have fun.
Yeah, make some noise.
Make
It doesn't
some
bother us.
noise.
So a woman who lives on the 14th floor of an apartment building in Seogu in Incheon recently visited her elderly neighbors just one floor down with her two daughters and two nephews. One evening back in January, and together they delivered some handwritten letters and boxes of cake. Each of the children actually wrote a letter to the elderly couple saying that they would be more careful about making noise in the future, and the kids wished the couple good health.
They're good neighbors
I
too.
know. And at the time, the elderly couple downstairs, they were out, so the letters and the cakes were given to the elderly couple's son,
Okay.
who was there. Now, 4 days later, the doorbell rang at the home of these children. And, when the mom went to open the door, there was an elderly gentleman from downstairs. And, this time it was he who had in hand a handwritten letter and also an envelope containing 50,000 won. He said, use this money, buy them fried chicken.
Oh,
This is Korea. Everybody likes fried chicken.
love is in the air.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do wonder what the letter specifically said, though, because this is what caught our attention.
Yeah, so the letter said that the couple, they said, we were very moved by the letter. You're growing up to be such good-mannered and well-behaved children. They said, don't be careful. Have fun. We also have grandchildren who are in 6th and 3rd grades. There is no one at home during the day. No need to be careful about making noise.
Have you ever seen such a thing?
Isn't that the sweetest thing?
It is such a sweet thing. And can you imagine the cycle, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, this family with the children, they used to live right above neighbors who are rather really sensitive about, children making noise.
Okay.
So that's why the mother felt compelled to sort of like urge the children to write, a letter.
A courtesy letter.
A courtesy letter.
Saying we're young.
But then, and then she gets this in return. She said she almost cried when she received the letters. She didn't want to accept the money, but the
Right.
gentleman insisted.
Right.
And, apparently the elderly couple actually wrote down each individual name of the children.
Of the children.
Yeah. So
Isn't
she
that
was super,
sweet?
super touched.
If you think about it, it's a small gesture,
It is.
isn't it? Do we do it frequently? Not
No.
quite. Because I do have neighbors with a lot of children,
Yep.
and they run around, and it bothers me. Believe me, because at 2 a.m, I don't really care much for it. However, I don't address it because I don't want to aggravate the situation.
Right.
They're kids, but I do wonder if there's like a nicer way to do this. Like, hey, nudge, nudge, 2 a.m.
Exactly.
People sleep.
Right.
But I don't bite.
We have a couple just upstairs who just had a baby. I mean, not that there's anything I could do about a baby, like a newborn.
A crying infant.
Yeah, but crying like at random times, hours of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
But we're like, that's cute.
Yeah. Oh.
You know?
Okay. I want Yurika as my neighbor. Right, on to our final story of the day. Toblerone has decided that Matterhorn will no longer be part of its packaging.
They're moving this iconic mountain peak from its packaging.
I'm only noticing it now, actually.
Right. Because it's moving some of the chocolate's production from Switzerland to Slovakia.
Oh.
Now, the pyramid-shaped bar, you all know.
Yeah.
You're all probably familiar with this this product. It mirrors the Alpine Peak, actually.
Yeah.
It's going to undergo a labeling revamp and include its founder's signature.
I guess it's tough for those who have to adjust. It's funny because the contents don't change, right? It's just the factory setting is.
Exactly.
Okay. Will the iconic image be replaced with, I guess that's a big question.
Yeah, so the image of this, the mountain is going to be replaced with a more generic summit, the one that looks less like a Matterhorn, you know?
Oh, goodness.
You know, strict rules have applied about what it is to be Swiss since 2017.
Really?
Yeah. So under Switzerland's Swissness Act, which passed in 2017.
That's their name.
Yeah, national symbols and the Swiss cross are not permitted on products that don't meet the Swissness criteria.
Quality control.
Right. So the act requires food products claiming to be Swiss made to be produced with 80% of their raw materials sourced directly from Switzerland. And that increases to 100% for milk and dairy products.
Okay.
Essential processing must also be done within the country. But there are exceptions, of course. Natural products such as cocoa beans cannot be sourced from Switzerland.
The last I heard, cocoa don't grow in Switzerland, but I get the gist of it. I just think the naming is really funny. Switzerland's Swissness Act. Yeah. There's a strict criteria for you to use their logos, their flag, for example, on the product. I'm sure having the Switzerland mark impacts sales when it comes to certain products, including but not limited to chocolate.
Yeah.
Swiss Army knife, for example. I do wonder, why is production being moved to Slovakia?
Yeah, so in a statement, the chocolate maker said it was to respond to increased demand worldwide and to grow the brand for the future. Now, a Swiss government website for small businesses cites several studies showing that the Swiss brand can represent as much as 20% of the sale price of certain products and as much as 50% for luxury items, say watches, for example, compared with similar goods from other countries.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this, because the factory is moving away, they must adjust. The chocolate product has been around for more than a century.
Exactly.
So even if it's a tiny mountain on the side, it's a big change.
That's right. Now, back in 2016, this chocolate product caused a bit of controversy by changing the design of the chocolate bar to sort of, space out those triangular chunks in a bit to keep costs down. But there was a whole lot of criticism. So the company reverted to the original shape 2 years later. People are really sensitive about
their chocolates
and what they're familiar with, I think.
You know what? That's actually a fair point. It's maybe not just about the chocolates because I'm sure taste didn't change, right? Can you imagine if they tried to tweak up the recipe? There might be a riot.
Exactly. So the next time you see this product, you will no longer see of Switzerland. You will see somewhere along the lines of originated in Switzerland.
All right. It changes. I think the biggest lesson I learned is they have a whole criteria for determining what is Swiss enough. Thank you very much, Erica,
Pleasure.
for always a fun conversation. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.